Most people looking in Central Sioux Falls think that they're shopping one general market. They're looking at similar commutes, similar access to downtown, the older established homes and tree-lined streets, and neighborhoods that all feel pretty connected. And honestly, it makes sense. But when you actually look at the June 2026 numbers, there are 3 different neighborhoods that act completely different. One area has a median price in the mid 200,000s. Yes, 200,000s, people. Another has homes that are taking a little longer to sell and giving buyers a bit more room. And another which has more inventory on paper, but homes in this area are selling faster, above asking price, and have the highest price per square foot of all 3. Before we zoom in on these 3 neighborhoods, let's actually look at Sioux Falls as a whole. In June of 2026, Sioux Falls had about 2.4 months of overall inventory. That is still a seller-leaning market. There are homes available, but not enough for buyers to have unlimited choices or maybe take their time on every good listing. The citywide median sale price here is around $376,000, and homes were taking about 60 days to sell. The overall failure rate here, meaning the listings that actually came off the market without selling, is around 8.9%. Now, compared to June of last year, the citywide median price was actually up from $337,000 to $376,000. That's a pretty meaningful increase. Price per square foot, though, only moved up from $190 to $192, which tells me that buyers are not necessarily paying wildly more per square foot. Instead, the buyers may be purchasing larger homes, better locations, or homes with features that are pushing that overall median sale price a bit higher. The other thing worth paying attention to is that more listings are actually failing to sell than they did a year ago. Now, that doesn't mean that the market is weak by any means. It means that sellers can't just throw out a number on a home and expect it to work. Pricing, condition, updates, presentation, and location still matter quite a bit. And that's especially true in the Central Sioux Falls area, where homes can feel similar online, but definitely perform differently once they actually hit the market. All right, let's start with downtown and the Cathedral District. In June, the median sale price in this area was around $245,000. Homes were selling for about $158 per square foot, and the median days on market here were around 62 days. Inventory in this area is actually very tight at just 1.3 months. Now, that tells us that there are not a lot of homes available here at one time, especially compared to the number of buyers who might be looking for that character, walkability, proximity to downtown, or a more central location at that accessible price point. Homes here were selling at about 99.4% of list price. So while buyers may have a little room to negotiate, depending on the specific homes, sellers are still getting very close to their asking price overall. Now, what's actually interesting is that the average days on market are a little bit longer than you might expect for such a tight market. A well-priced home with good updates, curb appeal, and a layout buyers love can definitely move quickly. But a home that needs more work, is priced maybe a little too aggressively, or has a few challenges may definitely sit for a while, even in this neighborhood with such low inventory. So for a first-time home buyer, someone looking for a lower entry price point, or someone who really wants to be close to downtown without jumping all the way to the higher price range, downtown in the Cathedral District can be a great place to look. Just know that the better homes in this price point may still require you to move pretty quickly. Now let's move over to McKennan Park in the All Saints area. This area had the lowest median sale price of the 3 in June, which was $238,000. But the price per square foot was actually higher than downtown in the Cathedral District, coming in at $174 per square foot. That tells us that buyers may be paying a little more for the space that they're getting, even though the overall median price stayed lower. Inventory in this area is still tight here, which it landed right around 1.5 months of inventory. So technically, this is still a seller-leaning market. But homes here were taking the longest to sell of the 3 areas at about 65 days. 65 days isn't really that long. The average sale to list price ratio was 97.4%. That is the biggest difference in this neighborhood. It means sellers here are giving up a little bit more of their original asking price. Now, that doesn't mean that buyers can come in with low offers and expect them to work every time. But it does mean there may be more opportunity to negotiate, especially if the home's been on the market for a little while, maybe more than a couple weeks or a month. Maybe it would need updates, or maybe the seller just priced it a little too aggressively. McKennan Park and All Saints are such special parts of Sioux Falls because of the mature trees, historic homes, the walkability and proximity to parks, and the character you cannot recreate in a brand new development. But buyers need to look closely at each home because you might find an incredible opportunity in this neighborhood. But you also really want to pay attention to condition, layout, updates, and long-term resale on these homes. In older neighborhoods, 2 homes on the same block can have a very different buyer experience depending on how they've been maintained and improved over time. So one might be one of my favorite grandma homes that they lived in for many, many years and took beautiful care of. And the other could potentially have been a flip or a rental home. So very, very different situations. Now, let's talk about Augustana and Spellerberg area because this is where the data gets really interesting. At first glance, the area has more inventory than the other 2. It was sitting right around that 3.3 months of inventory in June compared to 1.3 months downtown and in the Cathedral District and 1.5 months around the McKennan Park and All Saints area. So you might look at that and assume buyers should have more leverage, right? But that's actually not what the sales are showing. The median sale price in the Augustana and Spellerberg area was $365,000, which was the highest of the 3 areas by a pretty significant margin. Homes here were selling for about $189 per square foot, also the highest of the 3 neighborhoods. And the days on market there is the big story, only 34 days. That's nearly half the market time we saw in the downtown and Cathedral District and around McKennan Park and All Saints. This might be contributed to most of these buyers being first-time home buyers, not having homes to sell, and there's definitely a buyer demand in this neighborhood. Homes here were selling at 101% of asking price. So that means on average, they were getting multiple offers and a lot of activity. So even though there were technically more homes available in this area, the right homes are still moving quickly and buyers are having to compete. To me, that says buyers are very intentional about this specific area. I think they're drawn to the location more than anything. The proximity to Augustana University, central access to downtown and healthcare, the established streets, and the mix of homes that you can actually find here. This is a neighborhood where you really want to be ready when the right home comes up. You don't want to necessarily panic buy and jump into something too quickly. You should never buy a home that is not right for you just because you're afraid of missing out. But if you're hoping to buy in this Augustana or Spellerberg neighborhood, you definitely want to get your financing lined up and your current home situation figured out if you need to sell first. And have a clear understanding of what you're comfortable spending, because a well-priced home in this area definitely is moving fast. Now, the biggest takeaway here is that Central Sioux Falls is not one market. You've got the 3 different neighborhoods that all have their own strengths, price points, and buyer dynamics. And when you understand those differences between the neighborhoods, you can make a much smarter decision about where you might want to focus your search. Now make sure you download our free Central Sioux Falls guide. It's linked in the description below. I hope that it will help you dig into the details of these communities and neighborhoods in Central Sioux Falls so that you can start narrowing down what might be the best fit for you and your family. And make sure you check out this video right here where I look at over 2,000 recent sales across all of Sioux Falls and break down what the broader data is really telling us about home prices, home value, and where the market may actually be heading. Thanks so much for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.